Juliano.
É uma pergunta rápida, todo mundo quer terminar o bloco perguntando. A pergunta é a seguinte, você dedicou os seus 2 primeiros livros à internet. A internet era um assunto que aparecia ali com bastante frequência. E depois você foi para jogos e de jogos para questões neurológicas e agora para o cólera. A internet deixou de te interessar? Você acha que esse assunto já rendeu o que tinha para render ou você enxerga alguma coisa interessante acontecendo por aí?
You know, it's interesting that there is a bit in Ghost Map near the end in the cholera book where I talk about some of the systems that were happening in London in the 1850s, how they connect to what's happening on the web. And the project that I alluded to before, Outside.in, that I started, is very much a web project. It sits on the web. It uses the Google Maps system I was talking about before, and it's trying to do something, I think, pretty cutting edge on the web. So I feel like my brain is still very much in the middle of the web because I'm trying to solve this problem in terms of building something, not in terms of writing a book. But if I've started to write a little bit less about the internet, it's because the changed in a sense, in that there are a lot more people now who do the kind of stuff that I do, or that I did. And so when I was writing interface culture and trying to write about the internet in a cultural way, and to write about it in terms of meaning and significance and symbolic value, and not just in terms of, is this going to help me, you know, communicate with my grandmother better, or, you know, pay my taxes on time. It was a much smaller space. There were just many other people. I mean, there was Kevin Kelly and some of the people at Wired, which Kevin Kelly co-founded, and a few, Howard Rheingold, a few other people out there who were thinking that way. But I felt like I had the field practically to myself. The disadvantage of that is that when you told people you were writing a book about interface design and, you know, Dickens, people looked at you kind of blankly. And you know, nowadays they'd be like, "Oh, sure, I've already read that book, I think." So I feel like, in particular, if you look at the blogosphere, there's so many very smart people who are out there. When somebody does something interesting new on the internet, they can analyze what it mean, how it's going to change things, what it might do to politics, what it might do to intellectual property, all these interesting issues. I feel like there are a lot of smart people thinking about these problems, and so my natural inclination is to say, great, you guys have got it under control. I'm going to move over and start thinking about some other things. And personally, as a writer, it's been fun. These last 2 books, the one I'm writing now and the Ghost Map, both have stories. They both have historical stories. And I really enjoyed that process of writing a book that was, in a sense, an idea book wrapped around a narrative. Like that was something new. And the second I started doing it, I thought, I can't believe it's taken me this long to decide to write in this format, because I think it's a pretty winning format. So that's another reason why I've shifted a little bit away from the net in my writings.
Gustavo?
Bom, eu queria falar um pouco sobre divisão digital. Com certeza, a cultura da informação hoje torna as pessoas, dão essas novas qualidades, funciona como um incentivo mental, para se desenvolver. Só que a gente tem, por exemplo, 6 vezes mais penetração de internet nos países desenvolvidos do que nos não desenvolvidos. No Brasil, há 2 anos, 66% da população nunca tinha usado a internet. O senhor acha que é um problema urgente e que esferas tem que atuar para resolver esse problema?
And Brazil is also a very wired country compared to other countries in the region, right? So it's an issue. I mean, it's an issue inside of the United States, and it's an issue kind of globally. What we've seen inside of the United States is that the digital divide has been closing at an incredible clip. So the adoption of the computers and internet, kind of, if you start the clock at kind of 1995, is moving much faster than television was from, say, 55 to 65. And we now, in America, live in a society where everyone has a television, basically. And so it's reasonable to expect that we're moving very quickly towards that level in the U.S. But you know, you can't underestimate how important it is, if you believe all these things that we've been talking about the importance of that kind of connection and the mental exercise that you get, and just participating in the world that's coming, this new kind of emerging world, to not have access to those tools you know, at some level with television, you could argue that people were maybe better off for not sometimes having access to all the TV that was out there. Having grown up with television in the U.S. in the 70s, which was pretty awful, sometimes I wish we hadn't had a TV in our house. But I think that the internet obviously has a mix of things on it, and there's the worst stuff you've ever seen and the best stuff you've ever seen. But on the whole, I think we all agree that it's a force for good. So, you know, I think this is a case of where, you know, the state has to have a role. I mean, the markets just aren't naturally going to do. The markets are very good at getting this stuff cheap. And they're going to continue to do that, and it's going to get cheaper and cheaper. Computers are going to get cheaper and cheaper with more and more power, and we're clearly going to, you know, things that would have cost $5,000 10 years ago now cost $500. So that's going to happen, but there has to be, you know, kind of a supplementary effort by the state to make sure that those things are out there. And I completely support these, you know, new, you know, one laptop, one child kind of initiatives, $100 machines. You know, I don't know whose model is best. I haven't looked into it that closely. Negroponte has one. There are kind of a couple of other competitors out there, but that seems to me to be a really, you know, kind of valiant part of it as well. So it is a big issue, and but I guess I feel that the last 10 years in the States, it was a much bigger issue 10 years ago in the States, and people don't talk about it that much because it really has closed over that period of time. Even though the income gap in the much worse. And, you know, we have a big income, we have a runaway income gap problem. But our digital divide problem is actually narrowed to the point of not being such a big deal anymore.
Professor, nós estamos no finzinho do programa, temos um minutinho, eu vou fazer a última pergunta. O senhor, seus filhos são ainda pequenos, mas o grande dilema, acho que de muitos pais dessa geração, é o que fazer com o computador e os filhos. O senhor já tem algum tipo de regra em casa para quanto tempo eles podem ficar no computador? O senhor pretende estabelecer algum tipo de limite de tempo de computador para os seus filhos quando tiverem 15, 16 anos? Como é que o senhor e a sua esposa estão resolvendo esse problema?
I sometimes joke that when my kids are 15 or 16, I'm going to write a sequel to Everything Bad is Good for You called, you know what, forget what I said last time. I was, no, we have started to set rules with the Nintendo because they have gotten so into this game. And so we have fixed times. They can only play for 30 minutes before dinner, and then they can play more on a weekend morning. Because they will get pulled into it. And I you know, I certainly have not been saying, if you're the kind of parent who has said, go ahead, play World of Warcraft for 6 straight hours, you know, every weekend, you need to be a parent and rein your kids in. Just as if your kid is just sitting there locked in their room playing chess with themselves for 6 hours, you need to kind of rein them in. So it is about balance, but as I said, it's about trying to see these things as kind of a balanced diet. And if you don't understand the nutrients in this new food group, if you don't understand what's of value there, then you're never going to be able to get the right balance. So that's, I think, my biggest message to parents.
Muito bem, professor. Muito obrigado. Roda Viva está chegando ao seu final. Queremos agradecer a presença do professor Steven Johnson, da nossa bancada de entrevistadores, as pessoas que estão aqui na plateia e também a sua atenção, telespectador. Lembramos que voltaremos na próxima semana às 10h40 da noite e até lá, uma ótima semana a todos. Obrigado.
Roda Viva. Apoio AES Eletropaulo. Mais energia na sua vida. Banco do Planeta.